In post-fertilization event, so far we explained two important terms. One is endosperm formation, a nourishing tissue which nourish the developing embryo. Second one, embryogenesis, or how embryo development is take place. And at the same time, we also discussed monocot embryo and dicot embryo. Third major post-fertilization change is seed. In seed term, we have to discuss first definition of seed, because in our textbook the information is given both seed and fruit in mixed format. Therefore, we make it separate. Only seed information we select first, and later we have to study fruit separately. Definition of seed, seed coating, types of seeds, what do you mean by perisperm, what is seed dormancy, what is the importance of seed, advantages of seed, then viability of seed. Ability of germination we call viability. The period of a seed germination we call viability of seed. First we consider the seed. Seed is fertilized ovule. Therefore, many times in a plant, fertilization is not takes place. As a result, fruit is formed without fertilization. We called parthenocarpic fruit, and that process is called parthenocarpy, where seeds are not formed. Hence, such fruits generally we call seedless. Naturally, you take banana is a best example of natural seedless fruit where fertilization is not takes place. You take pomegranate, grapes, artificially we induce the process of what? Parthenocarpy, where in fruit seeds are not formed. Hence, here when ovule undergo fertilization, there is a formation of a reproductive product. Its name is a seed. Then next one is seed coating. The outer tough coating we called testa, inner the tegumen. That means seed is covered by two covering, testa and tegumen. Testa is a outer covering of seed, and it is developed by outer integument of ovule, whereas the inner covering we called tegumen, and it is developed from inner integument of ovule. And seed having microscopic aperture that we called the name micropyle. Through that, the seed get oxygen as well as water in the form of humidity. The atmospheric vapor or moisture, what we call the name humidity, both water and oxygen received by the micropyle. Listen here, generally the micropyle of ovule itself become that microscopic aperture micropyle of seed after fertilization. Then if you take types of seeds, generally based on the utility of what? Endosperm during embryonic development and storage nature, we classify the endospermic seed. That endospermic seed we also called albuminous seed. Albuminous seed. Then another one, non-endospermic seed. The non-endospermic seed is one, or in other words, it we also called X albuminous seed. In case of endospermic seed or albuminous seed, The endosperm does two roles. One is nourishment of embryo. It is a natural role. In addition to that, subsidiary, it stores food. Hence, you take all cereals. Cereals ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಧಾನ್ಯಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. Rice, wheat, ragi, barley, oat. In all these cases, the albuminous seeds or endospermic seeds, they play a very important role in nourishment of embryo and also they stores the food material. If you take eggs albuminous or non-endospermic seed, in this case what happens? Only endosperm helps in nourishment of embryo, but not stores food. That means here in these seeds, a stored food material is present in cotyledon, but not endosperm. What happens? In matured seed, in case of non-endospermic or exogenous seed, completely utilized for the embryonic development, even there is no residues left. But there is no storage of food in a endosperm. In these seeds, the cotyledon play a very important role to store the food material. Then majority of pulses belongs to this group. Pulses andre bedekalu anta ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು. For example, soybean, beans, Bengal gram, green gram, even groundnut also belongs to non-endospermic seed, we say. Then next term with respect to the seed is perisperm. In case of beetroot, then in case of pepper, the nucellus, it is a nourishing tissue which nourish the embryo sac, or in other words, a female gametophyte. It remain in seed. That residue remain as a nucellar tissue in seed. We call the name perisperm. Word what we use? Perisperm. Perisperm is a remained nucellus. In the seed part, we call the name perisperm. We seen in case of beetroot and pepper. Then, if you consider seed dormancy, when once seeds are formed, the seeds slow down their activity. Means they will not stop the activity. In a seed dormancy case, what happens? They may not become inactive or death here. Seeds slow down their activity, means the metabolic activity reduced, oxygen consumption, reduced, then rate of respiration, if you take, respiration is reduced. As a result, that a inactive mode of life in case of seed, inactive mode of life or slowdown of life activity in seed is called seed dormancy. And at the same time, during the seed dormancy, seeds showing dehydration naturally. Therefore, farmers even dehydrate the seed by a process what we call the name sun drying. Then this inactiveness of seed or slowdown of a metabolic activity in seed is by the influence of ABA, that is we call abscisic acid. Therefore, earlier this hormone we known as a dormin because it helps to induce dormancy, hence a scientist called earlier it as a dormin. Now we analyze their chemical nature. It is chemically abscisic acid. Therefore, the dormin name is replaced as a abscisic acid. If you consider next term with respect to the seed, what is the benefit of seed for plants as well as mankind? First one, the seed is the very specialized reproductive body we seen in case of especially gymnosperms and angiosperms. It formed after pollination and fertilization, the ovule become seed, and it can able to produce independently without use of water. As we know, in most of the cases, for example, in algae, fungi, bryophyte and pteridophyte, water is compulsory needed for the process of a fertilization. Here, the seed is a very special reproductive body where it can be able to produce without use of water. Only we know 30 genera of the monocot have ability to pollinate by water. The rest of all angiosperms and even gymnosperms pollinated by different agents, especially animals we call insects, or predominantly we may say as a honeybees. Second advantage is seed is having a better adaptation for dispersal from one place to the another place. Therefore, it can spread far away from the parental body, and they can specially spread all over the world. Hence, compared to the lower members like algae, fungi, bryophyte, pteridophyte, seed has better adaptation to disperse their species all over the world to become dominant in the world. Third use of seed is seed contain huge amount of reserve food material. For example, you take all pulses very rich in proteins. If you take cereals very rich in starch, then you take the oil seeds like groundnut, coconut, then we say that is sunflower, they are rich in oil. They gives a nourishment for the embryonic development. They give such a good nourishment, even complete young plantlet, it start up to photosynthesis process. They generally nourish the embryo as well as young plantlet in early part of their development. Hence, seed is a very specialized asexual reproductive body. Fourth one, seed coating, we have two. Outer coating is testa, inner one, tegumen, helps to protect the embryo. Therefore, there is no chance of a damage of any embryo in due to presence of seed coating. Fifth one, seed is a product of sexual reproduction, and here egg and sperm of two different plants belong to same species is recombined. Hence, there is a chance of origin of new genetic recombination. Then, along with that, there are some applications even for the mankind also. Seed can be stored for 1 year or 2 years and used next year for the agriculture purpose for cultivation of new crop. And last one, most important, you know, in plant we are using stem tuber, root tuber, then leafy vegetables, flowers, fruits and seeds as a food in a natural condition. But seed contain huge amount of reserve food material, and it used as a major food in the world, not only by human beings, even all animal group also get nourishment in the form of seeds. With respect to the seed, we have to consider seed viability. If you consider the seed viability, it varies from species to species. For example, in some species, we have seed viability period only few months. If you consider seed viability, it varies from one species to another species. Suppose some species only having few months seed viability. For example, the coffee, cocoa, only these are the seeds, they have very less viability. In contrast with that, Lupinus arcticus, we call lupin plant, found in Antarctica. Its viability is around 10,000 years. Like that, a Phoenix dactylifera, we call date palm seed, which having the seed viability about a 2000 years. Actually, the seed obtained from a King Herod palace, they got the especially a date seed during excavation of that palace, and that a King Herod palace present near Dead Sea. In such a way, the seed viability may be present in some species few months, few years, several thousand years, as we seen in case of Lupinus at 10,000, in a date 10,000 years, like that in date palm 2,000 years. Okay. One of the most important post-fertilization event is fruit formation. Therefore, with respect to fruit, we have to study the definition of fruit covering, types of fruit, then what do we mean by parthenocarpic fruit. Fruit is ripened and fertilized ovary, we called. That means ovary, when undergo fertilization, later it undergo ripening and fruit is formed. That means after fertilization, ovary become fruit. In some cases, without fertilization also fruit is formed. At that time, ovary without fertilization directly fruit may form. Then if you consider fruit covering, or in other words fruit walls, we say, the covering of fruit generally we called pericarp. Peri refers to periphery, edge, outer covering, carpus refers to fruit. This covering of a fruit pericarp, once again we divided into epicarp, that is outer covering, then mesocarp, a middle covering, then endocarp, that is inner covering of the fruit. In such a way, fruit wall may be differentiated into three types in some fruits: epicarp, mesocarp, endocarp. All these three coverings together commonly we call pericarp. Then if you consider types of fruits, generally in one classification we classify fleshy fruits. That means the complete fruit wall, in other words pericarp, is fleshy in nature. Suppose you take in case of a tomato, then if you consider the sapota, guava fruits, then the especially majority of the fruits may be fleshy. Then another one, if pericarp is dry, at that time we call it as a dry fruit. In that, if they may not break at all, that we call indehiscent fruit. Means the fruit, although they are dry, they may not break out. Then another one, a dehiscent fruits. They broken up in definite direction. Then one more classification of fruit, that is true fruit and false fruit. Very simple. If fruit form only from ovary, no other part of flower is not involved, at that time such fruit is called true fruit. If fruit formed from ovary and other part of flower, we called false fruit. Suppose you take in case of apple as well as strawberry, and if you consider the cashew nut, here what happens? Generally it is especially seeds these are, and whatever the swollen part is there, thalamus. That means in case of apple as well as cashew as well as strawberry, along with ovary, thalamus also involved to form fruit. Hence, the apple, cashew nut and strawberry belongs to false fruit. Then, finally, what do we mean by parthenocarpy and parthenocarpic fruit? The fruit developed without fertilization. Without fertilization. Such fruit is called parthenocarpic fruit, and that process is called parthenocarpy. Generally, naturally, banana can able to develop natural parthenocarpic, and parthenocarpic fruits are seedless. Very recently, in case of grapes as well as in case of pomegranate, we can induce artificially parthenocarpy because the seedless fruits have greater commercial importance. For that, generally we used auxins and gibberellins. Gibberellins, in short form, we call gibberellic acid, used as a parthenocarpy inducer phytohormones.